Awesome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, we have an incredible guest on here today, a very good friend of mine. We have Mr. Thomas Wurm. He is a wildland firefighter, a multiple published author, a podcaster, and a brilliant coach. And today we're going to be going into the murky waters of the mind. And for all of you watching, you understand how golf is such a mental game, how the old saying is that it's 10% skill and then 90% luck and mindset. And Tom, he's going to take us through some exercises today that I encourage you to follow along with, that is going to help you transform the way that you think about and visualize your ability to play and to score.
Today's episode is brought to you by Super Speed Golf. The Super Speed Golf Overspeed Training System is proven to help you swing every club in your bag faster, which will help you hit the ball farther and score lower. You'll see results as soon as your first session, and all it takes is just 5 minutes a day, 3 days a week, and can be easily incorporated into any training program or practice session. Use the link in the description to learn more and see for yourself why over 600 top touring pros trust Super Speed Golf. Use code MOBILITASGOLF for 10% off when you check out. That's MOBILITASGOLF. True Spec Golf. With over 20 locations around the world, True Spec Golf has quickly established themselves as worldwide leaders in custom club fitting. With over 35,000 head and shaft combinations from all the best brands, True Spec Golf uses a brand-agnostic approach to fit you with the best set of clubs perfectly suited for you and your game. Go to TrueSpecGolf.com to find a location near you, and be sure to tell them Coach Blaine referred you when you schedule an appointment. Rad Roller. If you're listening to this right now, you know that the Tour Shot Golf Academy, we believe when you can move better, you will play better. No one makes better, more effective mobility tools at a price you can afford than Rad Roller. With a comprehensive collection of mobility tools to choose from, Rad Roller tools will help you release tight muscles, reduce soreness, enhance recovery, and help you move better so you can play great golf. Click the link in the description to pick up an all-in kit or any of their amazing mobility tools. Sabre Golf. Practice only works if you do it correctly. In fact, practicing something incorrectly can have a negative impact on your game. Whether you're practicing at home or at the course, all Sabre Golf training aids are designed to be intuitive, effective, and durable. So whether you're using a Sabre Golf putting roller at home to practice putting on your carpet like I do, or taking one of their short game mats to the course to dial in your wedges, or one of their other amazing products, Sabre Golf has designed their products to help you get the most out of your practice session, know you're practicing correctly, and help you build good habits. Use code MOBILITAS to save at checkout. That's MOBILITAS.
And so before we get into it, I want to turn it over to you, Tom, and I want to pick your brain a little bit about how you got started, because the core of what you do is in the wildland firefighting realm. You've worked in the Teton area for a number of years. You just spent several months down fighting the California wildfires. I mean, it's an incredible task that most people aren't willing to take because of the physical and the mental demands. How did you get started in that world?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Blaine. And I'm so honored to be on the show. And how I started, it's so interesting. It's kind of a long story, but so my grandparents were actually fire lookouts in Oregon, and they were like signaling each other, and actually met one day in Portland, and they got married eventually. So it's kind of like a old fire story. My dad was a wildland firefighter in California. So I just grew up around all these stories of all the adrenaline and the rush and all this cool stuff going on. And I just thought, like, by the time I was about 15, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do it. And so, I spent 14 years out there on the line, doing the engines and fuels crew and hand crew and helicopters. I've pretty much, just about everything besides hot shots and jumping, done just about everything, crew boss, engine boss, professional faller, that's the big thing that see faller. So people that are in wildland fire, like the really big, tall, nasty trees that are on fire, they'd call me, and so I'm up there like cutting these big 6 foot diameter trees that are on fire, and it's a whole different level. Your mind has to be on point when you're doing those kind of tasks, and driving these giant trucks down these horrible mountain roads. Like, you have to be in exact peak performance and know exactly where your tires are, because your crew like depends on you. So yeah, I just found that the mindset is 100% most important in this environment, right?
That's incredible. And there's a lot of times that you and I will hop on the phone and just go down this rabbit hole of talking mindset. And I'm always getting a lot of value out of our conversations, even if they're not related to golf, because there's a lot of overlap between them. And speaking of overlap, I want to talk real quick about the visualization process of cutting down these trees. You were just down in California in the wildfires down there. California is home to some of the biggest trees in the world. And obviously there were some very horrible fires going on this season. Tell me what that's like to be out there, and what is it like to have this towering tree that's on fire and you're at the base of it, and it's your responsibility to cut it down.
Yeah, so the overlap, I really want to catch on this so we keep people here. Is the big thing is this overlap of, wildland firefighters they're extreme athletes. We're just like the NFL, just like the NHL. We're professional athletes that are going beyond human potential in a lot of ways. 16-hour days with like 50-pound packs, with terrible sleeping conditions, no like less water and food than is ideal. So all this stuff adds up, right? And so we're athletes out there. We're tactical athletes. You'll hear a lot of people talk about that. So getting into the tactics of like cutting these trees, it's just, you're getting up to the tree, you have all your gear, you're looking up and down it, you're kind of looking where you're going to put it. And there's so many hazards at play. There's the top of the tree, maybe the base is burned out. There's, where's all the crews around you? Like, what's going on? Where's the helicopters? Like, there's a lot of things in your mind going on. And so it's so important just to become like calm, centered, and balanced, and bring all that to the base of the stump, like really get grounded. And we can go through the process of all that and go in depth. But for me, the biggest thing was like actually like touching the tree and actually communicating with it, like really getting into a meditative space. And then I'm going to visualize exactly how my cuts are going to go, and it's just like picking your clubs. Like, the club you're going to pick is exactly what I'm doing with my chain. So I'm picking what cut I'm going to do. How is that going to be executed? And then visualizing exactly where the tree goes, exactly where the cuts are and all that. So it's all happening. I've practiced in my mind, right? Before I even start. That's so important. So important.
I love that. And like you said, I love how you just tied it in with the golf swing, because in golf, it's like, hey, here's the shot that's in front of me, and I need to fade the ball to the right to come in from a good angle. And that requires making a certain swing. And what you're saying is, if we want the tree to fall in a certain way into a certain area to keep everybody safe, to prevent the fire from spreading, then your cuts aren't always the same. And you change your cuts depending on the result that you want. So it sounds like a big part of this, and what we're going to keep coming back to, is this state of flow that you find yourself in, which some people have experienced by accident, but it sounds like you're going to teach us how to get there on purpose, and how to kind of block out the noise and focus in on what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. In the flow state, peak performance, I think those two terms are synonymous. They're really the same. And so the first step to getting into flow state, what we can do is just pick a point on the wall or whatever you're looking at. Pick a point and really focus on that point, but then allow your eyes to focus on the outside too. So you're almost focusing on two different spaces. And that whole thing is going to just completely change like your whole mindset. It's going to bring you down, right? And so the big thing is just getting into that space real quick and letting your mind calm down. Now, I have a technique I'm going to bring to you guys today, and it's called, breathe, anchor, visualize. And so we have to set this up a little bit, but once we set it up, we're talking like 10 seconds. You're going to have this instantaneous peak performance ability, and it's going to change your golf game, because it's changed the wildland fire performance. It's amazing. So what we're going to do now is really just, we're going to build an anchor, and that's an NLP term. So we're just going to put basically we're going to neurologically link feelings and memories to a knuckle. And so what that does when you touch that knuckle, you get all these feelings just rush into your body and you're back in all those memories. So first we got to pick, 3 states, Blaine. Like if you're out there on the golf course and you want to, do really good, right, with your shots, like what are 3 states? Like calm, like what are other, like I need your words, like what do you want to use?
Yeah, I think confident is going to be one of them. I find for myself, and one of the things that I teach in my academy is how every shot, regardless of the outcome, we need to go into it expecting that we're going to do good, right? And there's an old saying that you need to swing as if you know that you're going to accomplish the shot, but you can't care if you miss. So for me, that's having the confidence to commit regardless of what the outcome is. So that's definitely going to be one. I think focus is huge as well, and that kind of goes along. I love that feeling of being focused, about being dialed in to the shot that's in front of me and not worrying about everything else. It's so easy to get caught up in what happened on the last shot or what's going to happen in the next shot. And it's really about, well, how can I block all that out and be focused right here? And that's a little bit interchangeable with being present and being focused. So that's really important. Then I think you hit the nail on the head with the third one, which is calm. And
Okay.
it's a little bit different than focus because you can be wired up in focus. For example, I'm sure with what you do is a little bit more adrenaline. There's fire all around you. There's helicopters, there's people, mountain biking, skiing, snowboarding. There's a ton of that. But in golf, it's really, you're in your own head. So we want to be calm, we want to be confident, we want to be focused. So I'll pick those 3 words.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I love it. And so what we're going to do, I'm just going to kind of, it's going to get a little repetitive here for a little bit, but what we're going to do is we're going to elicit Blaine's memories and put them in his knuckle. And so, so if you can see here, right here, Blaine, you're just going to touch your knuckle like that when this feeling really comes over your body. Okay. So when like confidence really comes over your body, when we go through this, you're going to touch that knuckle. And as soon as that confidence, just barely, like it just starts to subside just barely, you're going to release that knuckle. Okay. And so we're really just neurologically linking these memories to your knuckle. It's an amazing technique. So you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So can you think of a specific time you were confident?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I want you to just close your eyes, and you have a picture of that in your mind.
I do.
Okay. I just want you to float down into that picture, all the way down to that picture, and see with your own eyes, and really see what you saw and hear what you heard and feel what you felt. And as soon as that feeling of confidence comes inside your body, I want you to go ahead and touch that knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And just like a tide receding, whenever it feels right, whenever that tide starts to recede, go ahead and release that knuckle and give me an okay.
Okay.
Good, good. Can you think of a different time, a specific time you're confident?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. And do you have a picture of that?
I do.
Good. Okay, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to go down into that picture, float down into that picture and see with your own eyes, and really see what you saw and hear what you heard and feel what you felt. As soon as that feeling of confidence goes inside your body, I want you to go ahead and touch that knuckle. Good, good. That's right. And just like a tide receding, as soon as that feeling starts to subside, and whenever it feels right, go ahead and release that knuckle.
Okay.
Good. Now, can you think of a different time, a specific time you were confident?
Yeah.
Good. Do you have a picture?
I do.
Okay. I want you to float down into that picture, float all the way down in that picture, and see what you saw and hear what you heard, and really feel the feelings of being totally confident. And as soon as that feeling comes inside your body, go ahead and touch your knuckle. Good. And like a tide receding, whenever it feels right, go ahead and release that knuckle. Good, good. Now, do you have a specific time you felt focused?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I want you to close your eyes and go into that picture and just float all the way down into that picture and see with your own eyes See what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel the feelings of being totally focused. And as that feeling comes inside your body, I want you to touch that knuckle. Good. That's right. And as that feeling starts to recede, just like a tide, go ahead and release that knuckle. Good. And can you think of a different time, a specific time you were focused?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You have a picture of that?
I do.
Okay. I want you to float down inside that picture. Float down inside that picture and see what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel what you felt. As soon as that feeling of being focused comes over your body, I want you to go and touch that knuckle. Good. That's right. And just like a tide receding, whenever it feels right, go ahead and release that knuckle. Good, good. So do you have a different time, a specific time you felt focused?
Definitely.
Okay. I want you to close your eyes and just float down into that picture and see what you saw, hear what you heard, and really feel the feelings of being totally focused. When that feeling comes over your body, I want you to go and touch that knuckle. And whenever it feels right, like a tide receding, go ahead and release that knuckle. Good, good. Can you think of a time, a specific time you were calm? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to float down in that picture. Close your eyes. Go ahead and float down into that picture and see what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel the feelings of being totally calm. As that feeling comes inside your body, go ahead and touch your knuckle. Good. That's right. Like a tide receding, whenever it feels right, you can go ahead and release that knuckle. Good. Can you think of a different time, a specific time you were calm? Okay, good. I want you to float down into that picture. Float all the way down in that picture and see with your own eyes. See what you saw and hear what you heard. Really feel the feelings of being totally calm. And when that feeling comes over your body, I want you to go ahead and touch your knuckle. And like a tide receding, whenever it feels right, go ahead and release that knuckle. Okay. Do you have a specific time, a different time you felt calm?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good, good. And I want you to just float down in that picture. Just float down in that picture and see with your own eyes. See what you saw and hear what you heard, and really feel the feelings of being totally calm. Good. And go ahead and touch your knuckle when that feeling comes over your body. Good. And like a tide receding, whenever it feels right, go ahead and just release that knuckle. Good, good. So what'd you have for breakfast, Blaine?
I don't eat breakfast. I
Okay.
intermittent fast in the mornings.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, perfect, perfect. So I just want you to just close your eyes real quick and just touch that knuckle and just explain like what's happening for you. What are you feeling?
Interestingly, I'm feeling everything that we just talked about.
Like
Confident, calm, and focused.
Right.
Which is very interesting. And the other very interesting thing was, out of the 9 experiences, only one of them was repetitive. The rest of them were all unique experiences, which was really fun to kind of just comb through the library and remember that, hey, these are the states that I'm seeking out, and there's a bounty of them out there. I just need to look for them and remember them. And it was cool because certain things that I haven't thought about for a while have come up, and just, whenever I have a tendency of forgetting things that have happened in the past because I'm so driven of what's going to happen next. But it's very pleasant to look back and be reminded that the state that I'm seeking is a state I've been in before.
It's so beautiful, man. I love that. And what's so awesome about this is that whenever like you're feeling really good, like you're like on top of the world, like hit that knuckle and save that state, right? So we can just keep building and keep building on this anchor. And so after some time, and the more you use it, the bigger it's going to get. But after some time, you're going to have so many beautiful states in the knuckle. It's just going to be like, you can, like, anything be going on, you can touch your knuckle and just be like, oh, okay, I can do this, right? And so this is kind of the base of NLP. So we just neurologically linked all of these memories into your knuckle. It's a beautiful thing. So moving forward, we're gonna talk about some breath work and how, as you guys can see, like, Blaine's physiology completely just changed, right? Like, you can feel that, like, you're way calmer, way more like here, like your whole physiology changed. It's amazing, like fast, right? And so what we're going to do that more with breath work. And there's a lot of breath work out there. There's the Wim Hof stuff. There's Ha breathing. One of my favorite ones for peak performance and athleticism is a 3-part yogic breath. And so what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in our bellies first, like expanding your belly, your chest, and then your shoulder. So it's like a Can you guys see that? Do I need to move the camera a little bit, Blaine?
No, that's great. So belly, chest, shoulders, out.
Yeah. And so it's like a 3-part breath that's kind of segmented. And so we're going to do 10 of those. So we're just going to go ahead now and just do 10 of those 3-part breaths. Okay. So okay, I lost count, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like really energized, a lot of oxygen, maybe a little dizzy, like you're getting like a little tingly. It's really good. Like it's that Wim Hof feeling, right? We're tapping into that amazing over oxygenation feeling. And so what that does is it just completely changes your physiology, changes your chemistry, changes everything in your body instantly. So when we combine this with an anchor, right, and we're going to go through how this all works. So the next step is the visualization. And for everybody listening, the audience, it's golfing, right? Like if you're at the putting green, if you're getting ready to drive, whatever you're working on, that club that you're on, that part of the course you're on, that's just always trouble, right? Just try this. Just close your eyes and visualize exactly how you're going to hit the ball, how the swing's going to go. Visualize every single step and every single way you're going to be successful. And the key is the visualization has to be successful. And it's easy. Like the easiest thing to do in the world is to mentally rehearse things. And that's what we're doing. We're going to mentally rehearse, the swing, the club hitting the ball flying through the air, landing exactly where you want it, right? So all those things, you visualize that. And we can't really do that here, you guys can easily visualize, you do it all the time. And so when we combine these, we do the breath work, we do the anchor, we close our eyes, we visualize, and then we act. And so it's a 15-second thing, right? So we can totally change our physiology in 15 seconds with these techniques. And so the breathing, anchoring, and visualizations will completely change your golf game because personally, I mean, I did this with giant trees that are on fire, and it's game changing for me, game changing for the people that have tried this on fire. So it's field tested, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, so I really encourage all of you guys to just go out and try this on the field or on the golf course. And please, like, I want to hear a report back of all the golfers that do this and just like crush their game, right? Because it's going to be awesome.
Oh, I'm telling you, Thomas, this is like, even just right now, I'm just so, like you said, different than I was at the beginning of this conversation. And I think when we first started, I was very excited, highly energized, in a very positive way. And it's not that those feelings have gone away, but it's a lot less, like the anxiety portion has been removed, which is really, really interesting because at least in my own mind, whether when I'm doing interviews or when I'm on the golf course, there's always, not always, but there tends to be this little I'll call it a sliver of doubt in the back of the mind of always, but what if, right? And trying to make sure that the shot is just right. And it's really that little bit that you hold on to that creates the poor execution of the shot. But when it's gone, and it frees you up to say, I'm going to commit to this regardless of that outcome, that it's very much more freeing. It's the same thing with this conversation of, in the back of my mind, wanting the conversation to go really well and making sure that I'm asking the right questions and making sure that I'm holding myself the right way and all these things. And at the same time, as that piece releases, this calm, focused, confident, like clarity comes over me of it doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be real, right? And the people listening or watching this, they're going to learn from that experience of seeing what it's like to actually commit into the process. And I'm sure this is something that you deal with quite a bit of, this works, but at the same time, a portion of it is you have to be willing to open up and let go. So what, in your experience, is something that somebody can do that, maybe they're not quite into the breath work type thing, or they've never done it before. They don't know what to expect, and they have this portion of their ego that's not ready to let go.
Absolutely. So yeah, the breath work, I can see how that's going to be like, oh, that looks weird. Like somebody getting up to the golf tee and breathing all funny, right? Like, yeah, that's understandable. And there's a time and place to do it exactly. Or, even the anchor alone is going to change your physiology. And I encourage you, the being open, more openness to trying these things it's really all about just a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. Are you going to get the same results and have reasons why you're doing the same thing over and over, or are you going to try something new and try growing and expanding yourself to things that, yeah, sure, they look weird, but they work and they give you results. And this technique is field tested with firefighters, so there's no question that it works, right? Like, it's funny if you're even questioning that it does work, because I know it does, right? So it's and that's up to the individual person. It's all about, if they're ready to change, if they're ready to truly look at themselves and say, what, I can do better. I can, change my physiology right now if I wanted to. And that's a big thing. And sometimes there's a deeper layer of secondary gain, as we call it in NLP. And that's really, sometimes it feels good to have those negative feelings, right? Like, some people really like it. And I'll be the first one to tell you, sometimes it's like like, oh, I'm really angry right now, but it's like, what, I want to hold on to this for like 30 more minutes, right? Like, we've all had that feeling, like, and there's that secondary gain. And it's important to look at that and understand that, what is that gain? What am I getting? And then releasing that, right?
Love that. And as you were explaining that, it really brought to my mind, how perfect of an example this is. Because in golf is a game of who can miss the best. Every shot is a failure to some extent, right? We're playing a game that's dictated by the laws of physics, played by man. It's not a game you can win. It's not a game you can master. And there's this piece of it that if you're the kind of person, and I'm speaking in generalizations to everyone, but if you're the kind of person that is firmly in that belief of, I'm already good, I don't have room for improvement, you're not going to grow, you're not going to improve. Yet, if we look at the best players in the world, you even look at somebody like, say, Tiger Woods, debatably, I don't know where everybody stands on this conversation, but he's debatably the greatest golfer that is, at least in the modern era, that has ever played. And yet, he will be very open and tell you, I'm nowhere near as good as I know I can be. There's still work to be done. There's a reason why at his very peak around the year 2000, give or take a couple of years, he decided to change his swing. There was always room for something more. And it brings a fun story into play back for myself when I was in college. One of the things that I used to do when I went out and played is not play for score, but play for opportunities on the course. And what I mean by that is I would say hit a drive, and if it ended up in the fairway, I would kick it off into the rough or kick it into the trees, or, give myself an opportunity to try a different shot, to try to have to work around an obstacle or try to keep it under a branch. And I went into it very fully open to like, it's not about score. If I'm always down the middle of the fairway, always on the green, then what happens when I find myself in this other situation? And I think the best players in this game are the ones that are adaptable, because it's not just one shot. It's an infinite variety of opportunities that are presented. And you have to go into it willing to fail. You have to fully commit to the shot, knowing that you might just hit a horrible shot, but you can learn from it because you were committed to it. But if you're not committed to it, you can't learn because you don't have that intention of what you were trying to achieve. And it sounds like here, the intention is to grow, to become better, to become more resilient, to become, in my case, calm, confident, and focused. But because I have the intention of letting myself go, I'm going to achieve it. But if there's this ego that gets in the way, I'm not going to get there. But to your point, if you can tell yourself, hey, there's some truth to this, even if you don't believe in it, let me at least try it. You know, it works. And when you're open and you're receptive, you can feel these things. And these things are almost undescribable until you experience it. And yet when you do, it's like seeing a new shade of color that you've never seen before. You're like, oh, that, okay, I want more of that. So very, very powerful stuff. Even in such a short example here, I'm feeling very, very good. And I love the fact that I can store my emotions in my knuckles, which is powerful. And one of the biggest things that we almost brushed over really quickly, but you made the point that in the future, when I'm aware of being in one of those states, I can then store it for later. And this is something that I'll teach to my students in the golf world, what I call the mental library of being able to recall shots that we've hit in the past to be able to hit them again. And the example being, you know, I'll use this example because it resonates with people who've experienced it, is if you get a hole in one, it's a massive accomplishment in life. It's filled with powerful emotions, and everybody, if you ask them, tell me about your hole in one, they'll tell you every detail. I was on this course on this day playing with this person from these tees using this club. It was this distance. They know everything. And so we can harness that and put that shot into our mental library so that the next time we're playing that hole, the next time we have a shot with that distance, the next time we're using that club, the next time we're playing with those people or on that course, we can take that shot and embody it similar to what you're talking about and have a likely chance of executing on it again. And this is very timely. I just got a message from one of my clients just yesterday for the third time in a year. She's made a hole in one using a very similar process. But speaking of seeing color for the first time, what you just took me through is like taking this process that I've been teaching and adding new colors to it, filling that canvas of like, this is so cool, slightly different way to look at it. I love the breathing. I've never done that breath work before, but it's very powerful. And typically for myself, when I'm doing breath work, it takes a lot longer to reach that state. But here we are in like 10 breaths. And I'm like, oh, okay, we got it. It's there. Yeah. Whereas other times it's like, okay, a 10, 15, 20-minute session. So this is super, super powerful. How, slightly off topic, but I want to get your take on it, because for a lot of people, especially those who sit behind a desk, they might not be able to diaphragmatically breathe from the belly. That's a little bit of a skill to learn. Do you have any tips or techniques on how to start that process of getting the diaphragm to move?
Yeah, it's so common. And, you know, the biggest thing too is sometimes our diaphragms get stuck in place and like our ribs and chest feel really tight. And it's hard to get that diaphragm moving again for some people. And the biggest thing is just to focus your mind on your stomach and just think of it like I think everybody has like probably like a joke or whatever, like push their belly out all the way. Like, oh, look at me, you know, my belly is out. It's like that feeling of you're pushing your belly all the way out when you breathe. And the key to it is it's not just your belly, but it's also, you want to expand all the way into your lower back actually as well. So you're expanding on both sides of your body. And when you really like master that, and it might take like maybe a couple days or a week of trying this to really make sure you master it. If you haven't done it before, but it's breathing in like the bottom of your belly, almost your belly button, and all the way like into your lower back, and focusing on those areas with your mind, and simply just focusing with your mind. Your body's going to do it because it knows what to do. It's done this. It wants to breathe out of your belly. It really wants to. It's a very natural process. So it's easy, and it will, it will help that diaphragm stretch and move and start to loosen up again, which will just make your breathing so much better throughout the rest of the day. So it's super important. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And for anybody watching or listening, in addition, if you want any mobility techniques, open up the hips and create a little space in there, just reach out. I'll share that with you guys as well. Now, to pivot slightly, I want to talk for a second about your books, because you've written a few of them, and they're brilliant books that go into a little bit more depth about what we're talking about, but also your overall experience. How did you get started writing? Because everybody who writes a book talks about how just an arduous, it's just such a big task, it's such a big process, and most people who ever start writing never finish, and yet you've not only finished, you've continued to write more books. So how'd you get started, and what's that drive to keep going?
Yeah, so interesting. And I think this will tie really well into my second book. But for me, like I kind of went through this like healing journey about 5 years ago. It started, and I lost somebody really close to me. It was like a death near me, and this like big traumatic experience for me in this healing journey that I went through, which turned into more of like a spiritual sickness, anxiety, a lot of health problems going on. And so during this journey, I was pretty far along. I was feeling a lot better. Life was getting a lot better at this time, but I was still kind of off with my health. And so I was sick with the flu, and I couldn't sleep. So I went up to my couch and just put on some meditation music. And I was just trying to like meditate through this fever, right? Like that's going to work. But really like focusing my mind, like I can be here. I can accept this right now. And then all of a sudden, like I was kind of asleep, but in that dream state, kind of not really asleep, but that weird in between. And this just voice came over me. It was just like, you're going to write a book. And it was so directive and like overpowering. It was like, oh, like, who are you? For one, this is insane. And it was the really like first big spiritual, like one of the bigger spiritual experiences of my life, right? It was like, you're going to write a book right now. I sat up and just started scribbling in my journal and drawing and writing. And ever since then, I've just been gifted with writing. I mean, I just love it. It's so healing for me. And it, people love the book. So it's been a powerful journey just to start writing. I love it.
And for everybody watching or listening, what's the name of your first book, and where can they find it?
Yeah, so there's Overcome Anxiety Like a Hero is the first one. And it's really this hero's journey of, the different stages of overcoming anxiety. And it's geared towards firefighters, but anybody could relate and take a lot of value from that book. And that one's on Amazon. They're all on Amazon. The second one is Awakened by Heartfire, Wildland Fire Stories and Secrets of the Universe. And that book is really in depth spiritually. I mean, it goes way deep into quantum mechanics and really bringing in like your higher self and bringing like healing, loving energy into your body. And there's a lot of stories mixed in. So it's almost like every chapter there's a story. And then I weave into like what I learned through firefighting, like spiritually and energetically, and how that ties into like learning lessons for you, for the reader. Really beautiful book. That one took me a long time to really to write out, and put a lot of work into that one. And that one's on Amazon as well. It's a beautiful book. Yeah.
And then speaking of going deep, you're the host of Sacred Ancestry podcast. I've been fortunate to be featured on there a couple of times. Tell me about what motivated you to get that started, and kind of what the meat and potatoes is of that podcast.
Yeah. So Sacred Ancestry is, for me, I think the inspiration, like I would say the last 15 years, I listen to Coast AM every night to go to sleep. And people that are familiar, it's like George Norrie kind of ghost stories, like aliens, like whatever. Like it's just kind of like all over the place topics, and almost like Joe Rogan, right? It's just we're going to talk about anything kind of show. And so I listen to that every night just to go to sleep. Like for some reason, George Norrie's voice just it just makes me go to sleep. It's beautiful. And so I've just always been listening to radio shows or podcasts, and it was just finally like, you know what, I should just do my own because I just love this. And I love it so much because it's just like we're doing today. It's like, yeah, I get to listen to a podcast, but not just that, I get to engage in it. I'm doing it. I'm podcasting. And it's so beautiful because it's basically like, yeah, being in a podcast every day. It's a beautiful experience. There's so much learning that's involved. But the show is really, Sacred Ancestry is all about, whatever you think you are so much more than that, because there's so much human potential that we're not tapping into through our mindset, through our spirituality, through quantum mechanics, through, all that stuff. And really, I interview coaches, I interview doctors, I interview people about, if it's spiritual health, mental health, emotional health, or physical health, like we're going to talk about that. That's kind of the big frame, but I go anywhere, in that podcast, and it's really for me, and people are downloading it. So it's good.
Now, I love what you just said, where whatever you think you are, you're so much more than that. And I think that's perfect segue into your coaching business. You've not just written about this. You don't just talk to experts about things that help, but you have a coaching business as well that's going to help people discover what they really are capable of through your breakthrough sessions. I'd love for you to give a little overview of what that's like for the person who's going through working with you, or who's on the fence and saying, you know what, I love what I've heard today. I want more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I this summer got certified as a master practitioner in NLP and hypnosis and mental emotional release. And through this process, through my coaching business, which is called Mountain Mind Tricks, really what we do is a breakthrough session. We kind of put all of the NLP, hypnosis, and MER, the mental emotional release, we put it all together in this 8-hour session. And that can be broken up into, 4 hours on Friday, 4 hours on Saturday, but it's 8 hours generally. And it is the most life transforming technique I've come across in all my research and everything I've ever read about. When I saw it, I was like, I have to learn more. I got to do this. And through my own breakthrough session, it was so profound and so earth shaking, my session, that there was things released that I didn't even think possible. Like personally, not every session does this, like as far as past life and genealogical release, but there was a lot of past life stuff for me going on, and we released that. And it doesn't mean that it's real or whatever. It's just kind of how the subconscious mind, makes things up, right? Or not makes things up, but how it defines and frames things. It could be past lives. It could be whatever it is. So we go really deep into anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Those are the kind of the 5 major emotions. And what we do is we actually take the person back in time, like through timeline therapy. What we're doing is having them float above their timeline to the very first time they were angry. And to give you an example, my first anger was, my dad smoking cigarettes from my mom when she was pregnant with me. Now, how do I remember that? I can't tell you how. That's just and I didn't remember consciously. This is all subconsciously, unconsciously. So we went back to this time when I took on my mother's anger from that moment. And when I released that, it was like, oh my gosh, it was just like all my anger was gone. All the past anger was gone. And it's not like you can't be angry ever again. It's just like the anger is going to last for, 5-10 minutes instead of hanging on for 3 weeks. Right. And so when we release all those emotions, we also, we release your greater problem. And we, before we get to the release work, we really go deep into your personal history. And basically you just tell me your story for 2 or 3 hours. Just tell me your life story. And it's not so much as in therapy as you're going to relive it. It's more about, I'm seeing how you do things. I'm seeing your process. I'm seeing, how you're creating this model of the world so we can turn it upside down and change it. And what's so powerful about these sessions is that you literally walk away a different person. I mean, it's the physiological changes. I mean, I've had clients, their wife will come up to them and say, you look different, like after the sessions. And it's true. I mean, your face changes there. All that subconscious stress is gone. So at the very end of those sessions, we actually do a journaling, like two hours or so of, what are you going to be doing in a year and 5 years? What's your aim in life? What's a goal? We get a really specific SMART goal. And we actually put that in your future timeline. And so you walk away with a plan, you have goals, you know exactly where you're going, what you're doing, with all the baggage from the past released. It's like the most empowering 8 hours of your entire life. You're changed completely. And so that's when the coaching starts, right? So we start with a bang and it just keeps going, because it's so powerful. I can't really explain to you how powerful it is until you experience it, because personally, like everybody I've seen, my personal experience, it's absolutely the biggest life experience you'll ever have. Probably it's pretty similar to like a not that it's psychedelic in any sense, but as far as neurology changing, it can be as powerful as that, like first psychedelic experience for people. So it's like that big, right?
That's awesome. How do people get in touch with you and find you?
Yeah, so mountainmindtricks.com is the number one place. You can go to my website and check it all out. And, Thomas M Wurm on Facebook is another place. I'm pretty active on there. Instagram is Mountain Mind Tricks, and Sacred Ancestry podcast. Please check it out. And all the books are on Amazon. So if you just search Thomas Wurm, you'll find my books. And that's all the handles there.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on this show, and I want to be respectful of your time. But to finish up, I want to ask you one last question, which is if you have any last words of encouragement or any asks for the audience.
Yeah, I would just say, just trust your unconscious mind, like really trust your gut instinct and trust your heart, especially out through in the golf course. Like just trust that you can hit that ball perfectly, because you can. All you have to do is just let go. And I do want to hear about people trying this technique out on the golf course. So please let Blaine know. And I want to hear about it, because it's going to go so awesome. You're going to be surprised at how much better you shoot. It's going to change your golf game. And I want to hear about it. So it'd be awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, just even right now, I'm just so excited. I'm just thinking like, man, I need to go out and play right now, because You're right. I find myself, I'm in that mindset. And it was obviously intentional. This is what I feel like when I play well, right? And that's a very, very powerful thing right there. So Tom, I can't thank you enough. Everybody, make sure you check out Tom on social media, go to the website, download the book, listen to the podcast, and go through a breakthrough session. It's going to be life-changing. Tom, thank you so much for coming on in. We'll do this again soon.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this episode and want to learn more, go to tourshotgolf.com to learn how you can play the best golf of your life. Move better, play better.